Satnam, I'm Lillian Savoy, and here at Awaken Change podcast, where you come home to your body, your soul, and your energy. And today we have fabulous guests that I'm lucky to know, Bonnie Poirier. And we are always in the spiritual world together. Rarely do we see each other in the physical world, but in the spiritual world, we share a lot of things in common. We're both Reiki masters, and we're both healers. But Bonnie has been doing hypnotherapy for 32 years.
Yes.
And I just love that. So today on this episode, we're going to dive into hypnotherapy and all the things it helps to heal. I know one of them that it heals, Bonnie, is smoking.
Yes.
And me being a 20-year smoker, ex-smoker, I should say, right? I never thought of going to hypnotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
But I see you always advertising that you can help people quit smoking in one day.
And it may take more. I will be honest. It may take
on
more.
The person, right?
Exactly. It does depend on the person. I started way back when I was a baby hypnotherapist. Smoking was changing. Back then, you could smoke in restaurants, in office buildings, and pretty much anywhere. There were smoking sections, believe it or not.
Yeah,
in restaurants,
I remember that.
in the planes. And so the federal law came down that really did rein in those privileges. So I had people coming to me who needed to have extended time between smoke breaks because some of their smoke breaks were being taken away, or they needed to take a 2-hour flight without smoking. Going into a restaurant, that was a whole different thing right there. Going into a restaurant, enjoying a meal, and when you finish that meal, you light up a cigarette. That had to change for so many people. So when I first started out in hypnotherapy, people were coming to me not to stop smoking, but to change their smoking habit. Over time, I started working with people who realized if I can go 8 hours without smoking a cigarette, maybe I can go 24. So we started with cutting down, cutting back, to quitting, to let's quit smoking. Nowadays, I'm working quite a bit with people who are vaping.
Yes. Okay. Tell me about that. Because is it a younger generation or is it the older generation that didn't give up cigarettes and just moved to vapes?
Yes. I am finding quite a few people who maybe about 10, 15 years ago, they took up vaping to get off of cigarettes.
Yeah.
We also have the younger generation who they are taking up vaping, and they're taking up vaping at a time in their lives where their lungs are really prone to things happening inside. So any of that moisture that's going in there, it sometimes will linger, and we'll have some people who are coming in their late teens, early 20s, who now have chronic lung issues because of the vaping. Now, the difference between that I find people who vape over smoking is the smell. Yeah. It is absolutely the smell. When you are smoking cigarettes, you are taking on the smell of a smoker, whether it's in your hair, your clothing, your breath. You take
fingernails.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with vaping, you don't have that. You may smell like a strawberry sundae. So there's a huge difference.
Don't you find, though, that you can kind of pick out the vapors because even though you smell like a strawberry, it's kind of like a dirty strawberry or like a musty blueberry, or it kind of smells like a lingering chemical that just stays in your hair or on your body. It's very similar because the body's putting out the toxin that's in the vape.
Exactly. Exactly. And when we do that, when we release, and you know this, when we release toxins in our breath, so many times we can pick up the chemical smells as well. It doesn't have to be smoking necessarily, but it may be other things that we are putting inside our body. I know a lady who is in New York, and when she has someone on her Reiki table, she can tell the ones who eat a diet filled with chemicals and so forth, processed foods and so forth. She said it's a different smell on their breath, as opposed to someone who may drink too much or anything like that. But she says she can pick up on the breath people who eat a lot of processed foods with those chemicals, those preservatives and so forth. And you probably on your, because I've had a session with you where I am sure you are sensitive to people's smells as well.
Yeah, my husband calls it my bloodhound nose. And I definitely am sensitive to smells. I can smell everything, unfortunately. But so I can pick up the drinking is the number one for me because it gives off this kind of sweet odor. It doesn't matter if you've brushed your teeth and used mouthwash or anything, but I can just smell it. And I think because I was, a wine drinker for so long that I resonate with that. And, as we age, I think all these chemicals also shift in our bodies and our body doesn't process it. At least that's what I'm finding personally is my body does not process alcohol like it did in my 20s or even my 30s. And I'm on my last year in my 40s, Bonnie. So now it really doesn't process alcohol like it used to,
I'm going to be 66 on Sunday. I totally get that. But one thing that I did want to mention to you is that people who get off of cigarettes, their taste buds and their sense of smell has been so stunted by the cigarettes that when they let go of the cigarettes, it's like their taste buds come alive, their sinuses open up, and they're able to smell things that a lifelong non-smoker won't smell. I remember explicitly being with a friend of mine who had gotten off of cigarettes, and we were standing in a checkout line, and she said, "Oh no, I'm out of here." And I said, What's going on? She said, "I can't stand by the person standing in front of us." And I'm like, "No, keep it down. And she said, "They are a smoker." And lo and behold, she checked out. She walked out the store and she lit up a cigarette as she's going out. I find people who have been smokers who get off of cigarettes tend to be more sensitive in their sense of smell. I think that part of the brain, that part of our bodies opens up and it's like freedom.
Well, I think that's the same thing that's going to happen to all the I call them teeny boppers, all the teeny boppers that are vaping. I'm seeing a lot of side effects from the vaping and stuff. So because I really think we have a service, especially you, Bonnie, doing hypnotherapy, helping these teenagers. They're near and dear to my heart just because I have one. I have one right now and she does not vape, but many of her friends do. And I think the only reason why she doesn't vape is because I tell her how hard it was for me to stop smoking. And over and over again and over, I just kind of beat it into her head. And I'm glad that, she listened because I was like, it was a long struggle to do that. So I think on a deeper level, Bonnie, you probably have a calling and a service to help some of these teens get off of vaping using hypnotherapy. So tell us how hypnotherapy works, whether it's for vaping or for a habit. It could be phone addiction, sex addiction, anger, laziness is an addiction, right? So tell us how first, since there's so much to learn about hypnotherapy, tell us first, what's the number one thing people come to you for hypnotherapy? Because I'll tell you what mine is, but mine's not that exciting. So tell us why people come to you for hypnotherapy.
Believe it or not, the reason why I got into hypnotherapy was for my own anxiety.
Okay.
And over the years, people come to me, and I don't advertise it, for anxiety and panic. So that is why so many people, they'll come in and I tell them my story of how I got into hypnotherapy. The reason, I'll give you a little overview. It was about 33, 34 years ago. I was in a healing touch workshop with a lovely lady named Mary Frost. And we're in this healing touch workshop, and it was lovely. And I'm thinking, I'm calm, I'm cool, I'm just, I've got my stuff together. The next day, day 2 of the workshop, this lady comes to me and she says, honey, I think you could really benefit from this fellow. And she puts in my hands a pamphlet for a fellow who was in the middle of nowhere, which, by the way, is called Springfield, Louisiana. So I contacted him and made an appointment, knocked on his door, and this little old lady opens the door and invites me in. She invites me into a room where this little old man is sitting. And I tell him my story. I just have anxiety. I have these thoughts that just won't turn off. And when I lie down to go to bed at night, I keep myself awake because I can't stop the thinking. It's like I try to stop and it keeps on going.
Yeah.
So we had a session and I thought, well, that was different. And I, paid, made another appointment, and I went home. So we're in between the sessions, and I'm thinking about that. It was interesting, something I'd never done before. Went back for my second session, and I may have fallen asleep. I don't know. I was out. Paid. Went for a third session. I'm in between the second and third session when I was put in a situation, whereas previously I would panic. I would get so anxious, I would panic. And I realized I'm handling it. Okay. I paused, I was breathing, and I was thinking clearly, and I was able to make better decisions. And I realized this is working. I'm better. And so when I went back for that third session, I said, okay, I need to know how I can do this. And that's when I sought out a training program. It was a year-long program, and I went into it. When people come to me, I don't know if they can sense that this is how I got into this. I don't know how. Mm-hmm. I am honored. Yeah. Incredibly honored that these people come to me. They come to me for all sorts of anxieties. Driving anxiety is becoming a really big hit right now. People are getting really anxious on the roadways. And I'm working with, right now I'm working with 4 different individuals on driving anxiety.
Mm-hmm. I remember having some clients come in for driving bridges, driving on the interstate. And anxiety is big. It's a big, big business, and it's a big business because we have so many stimulants and so many distractions and coming home. This is why I love doing this podcast, but coming home to our soul and being quiet and listening. I remember going to my first hypnotherapy appointment. And I went to hypnotherapy, and I didn't know you back then, Bonnie, but I went to go hypnotize myself into writing a book because I was like, I want to write a book. Mm-hmm. And how am I going to write a book? And I read somewhere that you should try hypnotherapy. So that was in 2011, and my book didn't come out until 2020. So why would something that I would do in, let's say, 2011 or 2012, why would it work, 8-9 years later? When I published my book in 2020, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I remember doing hypnotherapy to write a book. And I remember thinking, this session is very strange. like, is he talking to me? Am I sleeping? Am I awake? What am I doing? I'm like, am I visualizing myself writing my book? I don't know what I was doing. And then he sent me home with some calendar, which I never did. But so what is happening with the mind when, in that case, or when someone comes in with anxiety, what is hypnotherapy doing? Where does it go? Is it working on your unconscious, your subconscious? What is it doing?
That is a very good question. We know scientifically there are 4 levels of consciousness. We have beta, alpha, theta, delta. Beta is what we're in right now. We're having a talk. We're coming up with questions in our mind. We're coming up with answers that we want to speak. So we are what's called beta.
Beta.
Good brainwave activity. Now, say, for instance, we get off of this and we start listening to another podcast or watching TV or listening to music, and we're doing other things, but we're listening and our brainwave activity is coming down. That's the alpha. That's the one that slows down enough for us to fall asleep. So typically, that is the brainwave activity that we want for a hypnotherapy session. We also have theta. Theta is that really deep state. We're asleep. We are out. We may hear you, but we just don't simply care to answer. We're just we're there.
We're in our meditative
probably
state.
Where your clients are when they are on your table. They drift down and you can see it. You can see it in their face. Their face becomes more relaxed. They may actually have a little tearing going on that's called lacrimation. Okay. So you can literally see it in their faces. The 4th one is delta. That's deep, 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 deep. That's too deep to do any really productive work. It's really, really deep. Now, because of those teenagers we were talking about earlier, we've come up with a 5th level of consciousness, and that's called gamma. And this is how we found out about gamma. Gamma, when you have a gamer, they are super hyper focused and their brainwave activity is way up. So if you see someone playing video games or gaming, they are super hyper focused. They have no idea what's going on around them. No idea. All of a sudden, they realize it's 1:00 in the morning, and I've been gaming since 3 in the afternoon. So we have gamma. That's the highest level of consciousness. So
I think about gamma as Superman. I don't know why.
Yes.
But gamma helps me. Gamma brainwaves are, I think about like superheroes and superpowers. So that makes sense that it would be in the gaming world because you don't care about anything around you. You are just focused on the task, which is what superheroes do, right? It's like, screw all of y'all. I'm going to save the world.
So getting back to 9 years later, writing your book. So when we go into that hypnotherapy, we go in with a goal. We just don't go into hypnotherapy just to be hypnotized. Now, some people may, but typically you have a goal that you want to achieve. But there may be some blockage in there. Something, and it's not something that you're actually consciously thinking. It's typically unconscious within your subconscious mind that, oh, no, we don't want to do that. So when you get into that lower brainwave activities, getting into that hypnotic state, you're able to bypass what we call the critical factor, and you're able to turn it on its head. And once you do that, it stays. You don't have to consciously think about it. It's there. And that's why hypnotherapy works so well in self-esteem and self-confidence, getting off of cigarettes, and helping with any other things that your mind may say, nope, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah. Let's stuff it under the rug.
Yes.
Let's stuff it under the rug and not deal with it anymore. So your brain just goes past that block and into what it's supposed to be doing, whether it's driving, drinking water, eating healthy. Like, do you do a lot of hypnotherapy for, eating disorders or weight loss, or do people come to you for that kind of stuff?
With weight loss, we do work with the food that we eat. We have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to smoke cigarettes in order to live, but
right.
You do have to eat. So we talk about the foods that we eat in order to live, because here in Southeast Louisiana, or even all of South Louisiana, we eat. We love our food. We get
love
together. If there's someone that's bringing out a big pot in the backyard, we know we're going to be showing up and getting some good crawfish. We gather together.
I need some tonight.
Exactly.
And then I have to detox tomorrow for arsenic. I mean, we can't eat crawfish and not get exposed to chemicals. So
that's right.
I have to detox.
That's right.
Tomorrow.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But we live to eat. We love to eat. And it's taking that love for living that helps us work with people with weight reduction. Because so many people will, they'll come in and they'll say, I really don't eat that much. I don't know why I'm not, That's when I ask, have you seen your medical doctor? There may be some blood sugar issues that's causing you to hold on to that weight. And when we're stressed, and we see a lot of people who are stressed, our bodies hold on to that weight because our bodies are stressed out enough. They'll go into that, if I don't eat, I'm going to die. So
what does hypnotherapy, like when you go in there, whether it be, if it's, so their block is food, let's say, or the block is like, something in life that's holding you back. What's your process of hypnotherapy doing? Just to kind of walk through someone, as they're coming in, you're trying to get them in the alpha brainwave state, right? Nice and calm. And do you have a process of like how you talk to their subconscious, or maybe mantras that you give them, or a guided meditation?
I love the way you're putting all of this. Once that person crosses the threshold of my door, that's when the hypnosis begins.
Okay.
If we don't have rapport, it's not going to work. So the very first thing that we do is we establish rapport. And that can be through questions, talking. It may even be about 5 minutes of small talk, because people have come in. My office is in downtown Covington, and we have limited parking. So I know that someone who is coming into my office, they've just been searching for a parking spot. So they're coming in, they're under a lot of stress to begin with, getting there. So it may take about 5 minutes, just to talk them through, hey, you want some water? Let's sit down. Once we do that, we talk about their goals. Tell me about your goals. And I always ask, how long do you think it's going to take to achieve that goal? Because there are so many people who will tell me, I don't know. Or I'll have someone tell me, I really need to have this done by this date.
Okay.
And it's okay, let's work on that. So as I'm talking with them, making sure my voice gets into a rhythm, into a pattern. The reason for that is because I'm not trying to bore them to death. What I'm doing is I'm trying to get their brain going into the rhythm of my voice.
I love that.
And you, my dear, do the same thing.
I do.
When you have someone on your table, your actual pattern of speaking changes. And I don't know if you realize you're doing that, but it does. And it's calming because our brain is listening. Once we can do that, there are all sorts of different things to help the mind relax. All those vagus nerve things, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, looking up. When we do that, we fatigue our eyes, and that sends a message to our brain. It's time to relax. So when we
I
do
love
those
that.
simple things, and I'll ask people to open their eyes and look up toward their eyebrows. And once they can start feeling a little tingling, go ahead and close your eyes, take a breath, and that sends that message to the vagus nerve, and they go into relaxation.
Okay.
Do a lot of talking with them. Yes, we do a lot of affirmations. Affirmations work.
Yes.
We do a lot of mantra talking. Mantras work. It's good to have a mantra.
Yeah.
But also talking to their subconscious mind and letting go of what it is it needs to let go of. And the key is bringing in what's going to give them satisfaction and joy. So with that weight loss person, every time they eat that crisp, fresh apple, it's going to give them far more satisfaction than that full apple pie that they would eat.
I know. Or the homemade chocolate chip cookie versus the Oreo.
Exactly.
The processed food. And we do have to shift our perspective. So do you think a lot of it too is kind of awakening like parts of their brain that have been sleepy, so to speak?
That neuroplasticity, waking up those parts of the brain. It's like when someone is about to get into a negative, non-productive act, whether it's anger or gossiping or whatever it may be, when they stop, their brain takes notice. And when that happens, other parts of the brain starts firing those neurons. So awakening is that perfect word for what's going on. Scientifically, they use neuroplasticity. And that is literally what is happening, is awakening those parts of the brain that may have been sleeping or not paying attention. And when that happens, we open up that pathway to continue on with that productive, positive behavior.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, that's everything that they've proven from meditation, right? And it's like, if you have a meditative practice and being an individual, because what I do now, Bonnie, a lot of is teach people how to do stuff at home so that they don't have to be reliant on coming to me for every session, and they can actually strengthen their neurons at home with brain, tricks and doing this and doing that. And I just, hypnotherapy, meditation, guided meditation, affirmations, mantra work, all the stuff that you do is always creating new, I look at it like a firing squad. It's like new little synapses, just do. It's like, okay, well, what do I need? How do I need to change? And where do I need to grow? And what do I need to do? And how do I need to be? And always just looking for a tool to help awaken, because even you and I, we're awakening every day with the new stuff that we're learning, One
thing I want to touch on, and you mentioned something, and I want to circle back to that. You were talking about teaching people in their homes how to do this. And as a meditation teacher, when you have people come to you for class after class after class, the brain gets used to your voice. So when you start speaking, they automatically start relaxing. When you were talking about doing this at home, it does a little overlapping thing. When people start doing this at home, they have to listen to their own internal voice. Now, keep in mind, 24 hours a day, our brain is listening to our voice.
Yes.
To train people to listen to their own voice and teaching them meditation at home, you are teaching them to literally toss out those negative, stinking thinking thoughts.
Yeah.
And replace them with calming, productive thoughts in their own voice.
Yeah. And I find that because I do help people with that. And I find, guess with the group of people that don't, now we talked about them once, so that's a hint. But guess what group of people don't like to listen to their own voice and really kind of freak out?
Mm-hmm.
Guess who it is?
It would have to be the teenagers.
It is. It's the teenagers. I mean, I started this with my own children, right?
Mm-hmm.
I made them listen to their own mantras. We created their own mantras, and I make them listen to their own mantras and sounds and background noise and lights.
Mm-hmm.
And I put them through the whole process. My poor kids, they just get tortured first, right? Because I have to test it on them before I bring other people through it. And they get so uncomfortable. And my daughter is 19. She hasn't been the only teeny bopper on my table. And it's just so interesting, like while the brain's forming, right? Because the brain's forming until they're 25. Mm-hmm. So why do they hate to hear their own voice telling them positive affirmations? Why is that so bothersome? Do you have any insight on that?
There are so many people who can't stand the sound of their own voices in a recording. It's like, oh, no, that's not me. And I honestly think it's because we spend so much time listening to our own thoughts.
Oh,
and
that
some of that thinking, it may not be the actual sound of the voice. It could be, but it may not be the actual sound of their voice, but it may be letting go of that other thinking. You can get calm, and maybe they don't want to be calm, or you can be relaxed and focused. Well, if their mind is out here and going in all these different directions, that may be very foreign for them.
Oh, okay, wait, you touched on something that is really I'm passionate about, and I actually read about it today in my mind book. Let me show you the book and see if you've ever read it. But it's called The Mind.
Oh, okay, I'm writing that down.
Okay, and it's fascinating. It's by Yogi Bhajan, and I know he's a little controversial depending on, in the yoga community. However, chapter 11 literally talks about this, but it was like some people choose, if they don't get control of their mind and they don't do the meditative practice or the hypnotherapy or the guided meditation or the affirmations or the mantra work, they're choosing a life of being neurotic. And that is a choice that if the people that don't meditate and that choose not to, grow their brain and stretch, neuroplasticity, like you said, that choose not to stretch and grow and awaken, they are actually choosing the neurotic path instead of the spiritual path.
And that makes absolute sense.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, makes absolute sense.
Because, as a healer, you cannot convince someone that the spiritual path is easier than the path that they're on, because it is hard work. Mm-hmm. But it's better than a neurotic life or a life filled with chaos and drama. Mm-hmm. It's not for the weak. The spiritual path is not for the weak. But I also never want to be neurotic. Because when I wasn't on my spiritual path, I did feel like I was neurotic and judgmental of myself and critical of myself and unhappy and looking for happiness outside of myself. And all those things that people feel when they come in for a healing. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that all these tools that you offer and all the tools that are available to us now in the spiritual world it's actually in the human world now, right? We don't have to travel to India anymore. We don't have to go seek a shaman in the middle of Peru. Mm-hmm. Like, you're in my backyard, right? And in every state, there's people willing to help you get out of that neurotic life, whether you're addicted to smoking or sex or gaming or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That I completely agree with. Years and years ago, I had a teacher tell me that we start with the body before we go into the mind. And at first, I wanted to toss that out. I wanted to toss that idea out. And then it started making sense. so many addictions are part of our body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like closing that door off to our own spirituality.
Yeah.
People who are in pain, people who have illnesses, once they are working with their body, whether it's through natural means or whatever. There's a lady that I was working with who stayed in chronic pain, and her doctors kept wanting to put her on prescription medications. And she kept saying, no, I don't want that because I don't like the way it affects my mind. I feel like I have no emotions.
Yeah.
No emotions. And the doctor said, that's the whole point of it.
Yes.
And so she started getting massage therapy, acupuncture, you name it, to help her body. She is now pain-free. She's living very well, but she meditates every day. Every single morning, she gets up and she meditates. And she is the one who taught me, really, yes, our bodies can really keep us from accessing our mind and our own spirituality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because of pain or fatigue or chronic dis-ease. Yeah.
How many of us do the progressive relaxation technique, relaxing from our head down to our toes, going body part by body part to relax?
I love that one. Ooh, I love that. And it's so easy to do at home.
Yes.
Okay, well, so let's switch topics because we're getting close on time. And I want to know all about, first, your book that you just published.
I did. And I have my copy here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called Sacred Passage.
Sacred Passage, yeah.
Lillian, I got this idea from working with people over the years who became caretakers, caregivers, and many times they're kind of lost and forgotten about, and they're doing really holy work. They're helping their loved ones reach the end of our lives, and there's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of fear around the process, whether it's cancer, old age, Alzheimer's, dementia, anything like that.
Physical
what
illness.
are the stages that they're going through? What can I expect? What should I be doing? So I wrote this book for them in particular, because it starts off at that time of diagnosis, when your loved one gets that diagnosis. And it goes through the different dynamics, if you will. And it takes you to that time before death, the different stages before death. Because most of the time, if not all the time, your loved one has gotten into that state where they're non-communicating. Their breathing changes, their bodies have changed. What's going on? And they get into what they call the Shane Stokes breathing, where you can hear them breathe, and then you hear nothing. And is this it? Are they still with us? They are. There's another breath. So it's that the body is preparing itself. It's shutting down. That is a very sacred time.
Yeah.
They can hear everything, but what do I say? So I give some pointers on things to say. That's the time to relive good memories. Retell them about the time that we went to the beach, or the time that we found that puppy, or whatever that really good, positive memory is. Talk with them. They say hearing, and it's been, through science, hearing is the last thing that is let go of. They can hear everything.
Oh, I believe it. Yes.
Yes. And then it takes you to that time. And if you've been with anyone who has passed, you'll recognize this. How do I know my loved one has passed? Well, there is a quiet that comes into the room. It's that quiet of the quiet, if you will, and everything is silent, that's the moment of death. And once you sense it and you're in it, many people are like, okay, what do I do now? I have no idea what to do now. Who do I call? Who do I contact? Do I stay with them?
Yeah.
So I take them through that. And then the ending of the book is about the grief, whether it's anticipatory, but many of these people they've been grieving prior to death as well.
Wow. So Bonnie, is it come from personal experience? Is this because you've helped a large group of caretakers? Like what called you to really write this for people? Because this really hits home for me, because I watched my mom be the full-time caretaker of my bonus dad, and who did passive Alzheimer's. And now I'm watching my bonus mom take care of my dad on a physical level, and he has cancer. And it's what I've seen is the emotional and physical exhaustion. And it is, as a support person, because I'm close to both moms and both dads, and as a support person, there's only so much a support person for the caregiver can actually do. Do you touch on that in your book, or do you talk about how the caregiver is exhausted and what they can do to make them not be exhausted?
Yes, exactly. I do talk a good bit about self-care, because that is one thing I can tell you. Caretakers typically have no time to take care of themselves. They can't go out for an hour massage. Right. They are so limited. So that's what I do. Is in this, I do have what I call really brief meditations, where it can take maybe 3 minutes at that. I have a lot of journaling opportunities in there. And so there are different things within the book to help them take care of themselves, because they can't go out. Having an appointment, coming in to see me in person is really not going to happen. It's not going to, because they don't have the time. So that's why I wrote this book, because so many times I would be talking with people and say, I want to come in, but I don't have anyone to take care of my spouse. Exactly. Or I would love to come in, but to take an hour away, I don't think I can do that. That's pretty much, and of course, in my own past, watching several loved ones pass away, but also my father, back in 2012, he was complaining about, having a little chest thing going on here and there. And I would try to talk him and, go make an appointment with your doctor. And he didn't. He was stubborn, very stubborn guy. But he was one of the friendliest. What happened was he was planting his tomatoes in the garden. He always did that on the Good Friday. So he died on Good Friday of 2012. Oh. So on Good Friday, you always put your tomatoes into the ground. He was laughing with his neighbors that he shared a fence with, laughing, joking, telling dirty jokes back and forth to each other. I mean, just having a hoot. He hit the ground and he was gone. My dad literally died doing what he loved and laughing.
Aww.
And looking back at that, I kept thinking, was there something I should have been doing? Was there something more? Yeah. So that helped me think about this. I do have a book that's going to be coming out in a few weeks. It's on grief. So I do talk a good bit about that. But being with my own mom, she from the time she became ill until her death was about 18 months. I had an aunt about 2 years after that. Then I had a friend who so it was for about 6 years there. I had about 3 or 4 people that I was close to that I helped walk into their transition. But it was for people who really don't have the time, but they need resources.
Yeah. And they need help, but they just need it quick. And I remember you writing something about your book, how it's just meant to pick up, maybe read a little bit, do a little exercise, put down, pick up,
Yes,
read, get a little tidbit, put down. And it's
exactly.
not like you don't have to read it from beginning to end. It's not a
Mhm.
novel. We're just kind of learning a tip, moving on so that you have stamina and the energy to keep going as a caregiver.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not to be read cover to cover, pick up, put down again and again and again. I have a friend who her husband has, oh, forgive me, frontal temporal dementia, where it's all about behavior. His time is limited, but it's all about behavior. They do a lot of acting out, and she's having a really tough time with it. At the end of the book, I have a series of short devotionals. And she said, I can't get into the journaling because I don't want to see what's in my soul right now.
Okay.
But I do need a little something. And so there are a series of little brief devotionals at the end.
And that's what I was going to ask you too, is this book meant for, like my mom is Catholic and my bonus mom is Baptist. And does it, is it going to speak to different people in different religions?
It is. I try to, my goal was to keep it as ecumenical as possible.
Okay. Great. And where can we find your book?
Amazon. It's on Amazon. You can get it Kindle. My birthday is coming up on Sunday. So from Sunday for the next 5 days, they can get it a download for Kindle from Kindle for free. So I'm going to set that up so they can get that. But paperback is available as well as Kindle is available.
Okay. And so, Bonnie, any other last words? I'm really excited to share your book with people. And I know that this is, a lot of people listening to this podcast are many different ages, and we have kind of a wide demographic because we do have some younger ears listening, and we do have a lot of people around my age listening. And, my age group is starting to care for their parents. And we are moving into some of the caregiving phase. And, so I want to be able to share this as a resource, but also remember that, we don't have to be a certain age to be a caregiver. It can happen at any time, unexpectedly, and we just need to be there for each other. So even sharing your book to someone else, you're not going to offend them, I guess is really what I'm trying to say, because I was thinking to myself, should I give this book to my bonus mom? And the questions went through my head. Does she have time, which you just answered for me, right? And is she going to be offended because it's not written in Baptist religion, right? And 3, is it weird that a child is giving a parent a book on caregiving? So how do you feel about that last part? Do you really feel like this is offensive in any way for a child to give, their parent? Because we are literally moving into the stage where the boomers are going to need triple the amount of care that we've ever seen in the world. I mean, we are not going to have beds for them and housing for them. And I mean, we are moving into a place where we have never been before. So,
one of the things that I can tell you is some of the feedback that I've gotten is I've wanted to do something, but I didn't know what. And I'm giving them this. The youngest person that I know personally is 25, who was both of his parents passed when he was younger. His grandparents raised him, and they are now at that point where both of them simultaneously are reaching the ending of their life. And he's the caretaker for both of them. Ooh. And he's friends with one of my sons, so I gave him a copy of it. And I know he has contacted me several times. Hey, look, do you have a minute? But as far as parents giving this, or children giving this to parents, or parents
for their
giving
parents,
children, or whoever, I think that the feedback that I've gotten is I didn't know what else to do. One lady told me she got her mother 3 separate gift certificates for massages because she was exhausted. So over a period of time, she gave her, and she realized my mom didn't have time for any of that.
Yeah. I remember Bonnie, our mutual friend, Virginia. I remember sending Virginia to my mom's house. So, because that's when, back in the day when she did massages and she would go to people's homes. And that was such a great gift. So you could send someone to massage them at their home with a copy of your book. And I think it would be a really great gift. And maybe
that
some
would
fresh
be a beautiful gift.
Yeah. And maybe a flower from the garden or something, with thought behind it.
Exactly. Something from the heart.
Something from the heart. It's going to be a challenging time coming up, Bonnie. People are going to need this book. It's, it's not easy. And I'm just the support person of the caretaker. I'm not even doing the caretaking, I'm just, and I think we're going to see a lot of this where how do you even show up as a support person?
Exactly. And that's something that, I do talk about a little bit. Okay. What words can we say? What are some of the words that we can say? And one of the things is just letting them know, I'm not here all the time. I'm not even here some of the time, but you're always in my heart. I'm always thinking of you. And if the person is a person of faith who prays, letting them know, hey, look, whenever you're feeling really stressed and down and frustrated, just let you know, I've got you covered with God. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you during those times. So it's, letting them know that, hey, I recognize I'm not there. I may not even be there in the same state, but I'm here for support.
And I'm here in spirit.
And it could be a little quick text, hey, look, I'm thinking about you. Just said a prayer for you.
Yeah. I know when things get tough, I call my 2 moms. I'm like, can you put me on your prayer list? Because they have a running prayer list. I'm like, I think I'm going to need the big guns in this one. Can you put me on your prayer list? Well, Bonnie,
I have a dear.
So much.
Well, I just want to share something with you. I want to say that people like you and others who do Reiki, one of the things that can happen, and I can't emphasize this enough, is there are so many times when people are in grief that they have no words. Their emotions can sometimes terrify them, and they keep it bottled in. I think that people like you and other Reiki practitioners, myself, if we offer Reiki for those in grief, they don't have to say a word, not a word at all. Maybe they don't have the words, but the healing that you will help instill within their souls. I don't even think there are words to describe the beauty, the healing, the sacredness of what you do. So I want to emphasize that if anyone out there, the healers who say, I don't have the words for this, I don't have the training for this, I can't help people in grief or in any of this. You do. You have the tools, and it may not be using any words at all.
Yeah, and it's a frequency, it's a vibration, and everybody has a clear heart and can send over a good vibe, a healing thought, a healing prayer. And I agree with you. We all have it within us, and we just, I call it a spiritual conversation. It's one of my tricks up my sleeve. But when it's so awkward, or if it's tense, or if it's filled with anger or fear or doubt or the unknown, I suggest having a spiritual conversation first. And that spiritual conversation can be called Reiki or meditation or prayer, but it's a conversation between you and the other person that clears the air. whether that's grief or sadness, or it's just this beautiful moment of spiritual conversation with the other person. And then you never have to have it in a physical way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I was recently working with a lady in Colorado, and she sought me out for grief work. And her thing was, back during the pandemic, her husband got sick, and she brought him to the emergency room. And she said, that was my biggest mistake because they kept him. And I wasn't allowed to see him. I wasn't allowed to visit with him. I couldn't, there wasn't even a window. She said she was visiting her grandmother at the time through a window in her nursing home. She would wave at her grandmother, but her husband, she could not see him, and she wasn't able to be with him when he died. And she needed help with this. She was hurting so bad. So I was talking with her, and I said, have you ever thought about going to a psychic medium? She said, no, why would I do that? And I said, because I believe he has some things to tell you. Yeah. I said, I am not a psychic medium, but I do believe that there are people out there, mediums, who truly are there, willing and wanting to help you. And she said, well, I have an old friend who, she has a place in one of our shops here that she's a psychic medium. Lillian, I'm telling you this. She had one session with her, just sat down with her, and her husband said some of the most beautiful things to her. Mm-hmm. He reassured her he was okay. The fact that she wasn't there, he didn't want her to see any of this. He didn't want her there because he knew that would be her last memories of seeing him the way he died. And he reassured her he wasn't suffering.
Yeah, good.
He was mostly medicated, so he didn't suffer, but he really did not want her there. What he wanted for her was to create new memories. And that was what she needed to hear. Because her thing was, how can I have joy knowing that my husband suffered alone to his death? And just going to that person helped her exponentially.
I do. I help some people through that, when they can't, if they've had strokes or they can't talk, or if they're near death. And it is exactly what you said. They speak without speaking. And they do say they have requests. The last one I did said he wanted yellow flowers. He wanted to see immediate family members. He did. And he said who it was. Mm-hmm. And then when I get a call 2 months later, and she was like, Lillian, he wanted this, 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 and this, just like he told you. And then he passed. I'm like, wow, that is the power of spirit. Yes. That is like the power of spirit. Yes. We don't even need a voice. I guess we'll just cancel the podcast. No, I'm kidding, Bonnie. We can all just speak telepathically, right?
Mm-hmm. I think I would be clearer.
Yeah. Sometimes I think we're better telepathically than we are verbalizing things.
Exactly.
But Bonnie, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your knowledge with us.
I'm
so excited to pick up a copy of your book and share it with my family. And you can reach Bonnie. She's on Instagram. And she's local here in Louisiana. If you, in Covington, if you live around here and you're listening to this, she can be reached. We're going to put her email, her phone number, and where she's located. So you can see that at the bottom of the script once you're checking out your podcast. And please share this. If you like this information, if you know a teenager that needs to stop vaping or smoking or has a block in life that wants to go through without necessarily having talk therapy, then Bonnie is your lady. So, Bonnie, I am honored. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Satnam, my dear.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Please use your own discernment and seek professional care when needed.